This is the village of Lymm, and it was first mentioned in the Domesday Book of 1086, and it was listed as Lymm, not Lymm. And Lymm meant a torrent of water. And that probably had something to do with the amount of rivers and brooks that seem to intersect here in Lymm, but don't anymore. There's the Bradley Brook, there's the River Bollin, and there used to be the River Mersey before they built the Manchester Ship Canal. In 1821 they built 2 dams to harness the power of these torrents of water. And the 2 dams powered 2 mills, a corn mill and a steel mill. And the steel mill used to make those bands that go around wooden barrels. Because of those 2 mills, they made it so the Bridgewater Canal would run through Lymm. Behind me is Lymm Cross. And it's Warrington's only Grade 1 listed structure, and it has been since 1950. Historians can't really agree on when Lymm Cross was built. Some say it's as far back as the 14th century. Obviously what you're seeing behind me isn't completely original. It was tarted up a bit in 1897. But it all sits on this big outcrop of sandstone. And that sandstone is basically what everything in the Mersey Valley sits on. Right the way from Manchester out to Liverpool. If you ever look at the architecture of the northwest of England, it's all made out of sandstone. That's because this part of the northwest of England, before all the continents shifted and all the tectonic plates moved, was a desert near to the equator. Which is ironic because it's one of the wettest places in the world now. To put it in perspective, the Amazon rainforest has 80 inches of rain a year, and the northwest of England has 125 inches. Lymm is now actually quite a well thought of place to live. And it has a few celebrities that live around here. I'm sure a lot of footballers, a few of the Coronation Street cast. Matthew Corbett, Sutty's dad, he lives round here near the canal. Ian Brown from the Stone Roses, he lives round here, up near the Higher Dam. Up until 2019, John Stalker lived round here. Who's John Stalker? Well, he was the policeman that investigated the Moors murderers, but more importantly, he's the fellow that used to sell you your retractable awnings on 90s daytime TV. He lived round here, star-studded. One of my favourite things about Lymm is how close it is to National Cycle Route 62. And that's where we're going to go now. We're going to go from Lymm, which is a newly posh place, to a place that's always been posh. Let's Bimble.
Can be lifted the brighter the day. Take the blue skies
This is Dunham Massey, and building commenced in 1616 by Sir George Booth. Now, Sir George Booth wasn't a knight of the realm. The Sir bit was a title that he bought. James I decided to make up a title of baronet in order to swell the coppers. In return for the title of Sir, you had to pay for 30 soldiers for 3 years, and that's the equivalent of £1,100. In return for that £1,100, he made Sir George Booth the Baronet of Dunham Massey. Sir George Booth never actually seen the hall completed, but his son did, who was confusingly named Sir George Booth, the Baronet of Delamere, so he bought a title as well. He seen it completed and he made it his family home. And it was passed down through many earls of Warrington, up until the marriage of Lady Mary Booth, into the Grey family. The Greys lived in Enville Hall in Staffordshire. And they lived here up until the 7th Earl of Stamford, stroke the 3rd Earl of Warrington, Sir George Harry Booth, decided he didn't want to live in Dunham Massey anymore. And that was because he took a wife who he called Bessie, Elizabeth Billage. And she was only a shoemaker's daughter. And the socialites of Manchester, or Cottonopolis, didn't take a liking to her and were a bit snobby around her, and he didn't like that. So he moved away and left Dunham Massey more or less abandoned. But he obviously wasn't very pleased with Bessie, because he remarried, and he married a woman called Catherine Cox. And the Cox family still live at Enville Hall in Staffordshire. Sir George Harry Booth never made it his home. He used it as more of a holiday retreat. It wasn't until the 9th Earl of Stamford that it became a family home for the Grey family again. So you may be wondering where all these earls and baronets got all their money from. And I think one clue was a statue that was removed in 2020. It was a statue of an African boy holding up a sundial. And it was described by the Grey family as the whole of Africa. It was a copy of a statue that Queen Victoria had in one of her gardens. So I think it's safe to say that slavery was actually how they made their money. But they redeemed themselves. Between 1917 and 1919, they opened up a large proportion of the hall as a hospital. And they called it Stamford Hospital. And this hospital dealt with all the injured men from the First World War. And in fact, Lady Jane Grey actually trained to be a nurse here so that she could help the men. So they weren't all bad. The Grey family no longer live here, and it's run by the National Trust. And the great thing about it is that it's home to thousands of deers, and these deers are allowed to wander about and eat the grass wherever they like. And we're allowed to wander about on designated paths and get right up close to them. That's my favourite thing anyway.